Hey everyone, it's the House Mouse here. I hope you're doing well. Thanks for joining and welcome new subscribers. I'm so glad you're all here. So today's inspiration comes by way of a video from Diane Hubert at Pretty Pink Cottage. She recently shared some flea market finds, and among her vintage treasures were some dance cards from various decades, but they were just so cute, and I thought, wouldn't it be interesting if we could replicate those? So I tested it out, and I have a couple of different variations here. I looked on the internet, and it tells me that antique dance cards are generally 3 inches high by about 2.5 inches wide. So that's what I've made mine. And I just have a few little pieces of paper inside to replicate where you would write down your dance partners for the evening. And sometimes there would be a program of which dances would be played, what music you could expect to hear at that evening's function. So there's that one. This is done with just a hole punched at the top and some twine through. And then this one is the same idea, just a few pages inside. And I've just tied a piece of twine around through the middle, and I tied a knot at the top pretty tightly just to make sure that nothing comes loose. But this is a kind of a Midori style where you could actually take the pages out and work on them and then slide them back in if you wanted to. So those are my two little prototypes. I've decorated them lightly with a little bit of book page and some fussy cuts, and of course a label because you want to know when the dance was. So I have left the ends of the ties rather short. Now, of course, originally this would have been long enough to create a loop. It would have been worn around the wrist so that you could have your dance card with you throughout the evening. But I've left them loose because I thought, they would kind of be the thing that you could tuck into a pocket in your journal. So that's my idea here. So let's get started. So for my covers, and of course you can make yours whatever size you want, and I will leave these dimensions in the description box as well, but my covers, and they're just a light cardstock, are 3 inches high by 5 inches wide, so that when they're folded in half you get the 2.5 inches across. And then for the pages, I've made them just a little bit smaller, so the pages are 2 3/4 inches high by 4 3/4 inches wide. So just to make sure that, again, when you've got your pages folded, that they settle nicely inside your book and they're not sticking out on the sides. So that's how I've done it. Again, you may have scraps in your stash that kind of resemble these dimensions, and so of course use whatever you have. You may have offcuts of nice scrapbook paper or other cardstock or just heavier weight paper and just little scraps of lined paper, and again, use whatever you have on hand. And so here's my little cover. I had another little piece of cardstock that I've trimmed down to size, and of course we're just going to, so let me make sure you're in frame. We're going to fold in half just like we're making any cover. Whoop. Here, let's try and, this cardstock is a little bit stiffer than the others. And of course, if you think it would be helpful, you can certainly score your cardstock down the middle. I'm going to use my bone folder to make sure that crease is nice and crisp. So there we've got our cover. And for the pages, again, I just have a variety of little papers. They don't have to be going in the correct direction. You can write on these however you want. You can use these, you can use these as a little, almost as a little collage book if you wanted to. So here, let's see. Got a little bit of book page that has mostly blank space on it. So we'll get these all folded up. And I forgot to mention, I will also link Diane's video below where she showed these antique and vintage dance cards that she found recently. So, and definitely watch her videos. She is very creative. She uses vintage ephemera in such interesting ways. So I find it very helpful. And hopefully one day I will be able to find the kinds of treasures she finds as well. So, okay, so we've got all our pages. Just, you know, jog them together, make sure they're the way you want them. And we'll fit them in, again, just like you're making a journal. We're gonna fit them in here. And you could, of course, you know, just do a very small 3-hole pamphlet stitch. You could, if you have a sewing machine, you can just stitch right down the spine if you wanted to. That would also work. So we're going to, I find it easier just to clip them together. Here, let's see, make sure we're still in frame here, okay. And I'm going to try my hole punch again. Now, this is kind of quite a lot to go through for a regular hole punch. If you have something like a crocodile, I believe those are heavier duty. And here, we'll line this up. I'm aiming for about 1/4 to 1/2 inch down into the spine. So hopefully that's on camera, and we'll try and give it a squeeze. Okay, there we go. There, and we've got our little hole pretty much in the center. And then we'll take a piece of twine and we'll just, sorry, this is just a piece of embroidery floss folded in half. We'll put the loop through, whoops, we'll put the loop through, there we go. And we'll just pull the tails through the loop. And that's it. And if, you know, if this were not going to be inside a journal, you could certainly, you know, tie some beads or other charms on this. I think that would be cute as well. Get rid of our scraps here. So there, that's really simply the way I've done it. I'll fold this together. They do come together quickly. And I do have some embellishments that I've put to the side here, so we'll give this a little bit of decoration. Let's just crease this a little bit more. And certainly if you feel like it's a bit too poofy, you can put it, you know, put it under a heavy book for a little while, and that should help keep it flat and stable. So, still recording? Yes, we are. Okay. So I have a little bit of book page with way too much glue. There we go. And then I have a little vellum sticker. I think, you know what, I'm going to put the label on first. Sorry, I'm just gluing off camera. Nothing exciting is happening. Here, we'll put a little round label. These are labels that I've stamped on just blank pieces of book page and then cut out. And then here, we'll put that, maybe something like that. Okay. Let's see if we can get the sticker off the backing. There we go. There we go. You can certainly use a bone folder to help. So there it is. There's our little faux dance card. And I think that's a nice little piece of handmade ephemera to tuck into a journal. And it actually opens up really nicely. So I like the way that works. And, you know, since this is not tied, if you want to change the pages or add more, you could certainly do that later on. So there's that one. Here's a one again. You can just wrap your twine or floss around the middle to hold things in place. It works pretty well. So that's my project for today. Let me know what you think. And certainly if you find real dance cards, definitely use those in your journals as well. I think that would be really fun. So thank you again for joining. Again, if you're looking for more crafty and cozy fun, I will again always leave a link to my newsletter in the description box. I'll link Diane's video again, as I mentioned before. In the meantime, I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll talk to you again soon. Bye.